Yes, go ahead and cancel the reservation for 50 people. I was working hard on my own when this man suddenly started harassing me. The man was a department head at my previous workplace named Smith. He was known for various forms of harassment, but I never imagined he would go this far. He selfishly ruined the reservation and insisted on not paying the cancellation fee. Because of that, I decided to corner Smith and trick him. I told him I would serve the leftover food for free and led him to the back of the restaurant. Smith, unaware of who was waiting for him, fell right into the trap. The president and chairman of your company are waiting. What? I won't let him do as he pleases anymore. The time has come for him, who has been causing trouble for others, to face divine retribution. My name is White. I'm a 45-year-old guy working as the owner of a restaurant. I was just an ordinary office worker until 15 years ago. However, I was approached by the owner of my favorite restaurant and decided to start my current job. The owner's name is Ms. Brown. She is a woman 1 year younger than me. We just lost a member of staff, and we're short on people. Heard you're interested in cooking. How about working for us? Without those words from Ms. Brown, I might still be working as an office worker. As I was already interested in cooking, I decided to take up Brown's offer and train under her immediately. I look forward to working with you starting today. I'll do my best to learn the job thoroughly. I was quite nervous when I first greeted the other employees. Unlike bars and typical restaurants, I had the image that a restaurant like this was a place for true professionals in the field. I thought the training would be incredibly strict. However, my days there turned out to be completely different from what I had imagined. If you don't understand something, make sure to ask. We don't scold you harshly for mistakes. In fact, it's not good to leave questions unasked. I don't know what kind of image you have of a restaurant, but it's no different from any other workplace. Brown said, kindly teaching me the work. The other employees also made sure to guide me until I understood things I didn't know. Thanks to that, my skills improved rapidly, and I became independent when I turned 40, 5 years ago. Congrats, White, you're fully qualified now. I'll drop by sometime, so make sure to take care of me then. I was filled with pride when my mentor, Brown, congratulated me on becoming fully qualified. For the past 5 years, I've been working tirelessly, and my days have been going well. There have been some tough times, but fortunately, I've managed to get through them. However, now in my 5th year of independence, a troublesome problem has come my way. It's April, when the cherry blossoms are in full bloom. During the mild weather, I was busy working at the restaurant because it was crowded with customers celebrating school and job starts. Congratulations on your school admission. All your hard work studying for exams has paid off. Thanks, Dad. Hey, since it's a special celebration, can we order extra desserts today? It's tough working in a celebratory atmosphere, but seeing their happy faces fills me with energy. You've grown up so well. It's great you got a job at a major company. Living alone can be tough, but make sure you take care of your health. Mom, I know what I'm doing. I'm an adult now. You worry too much. The other employees also watch the customers with affectionate eyes. Seeing such moments, I really feel glad to have chosen this career. In the midst of this, a reservation call came into our restaurant. I was checking the next dish to be served when I heard the phone ringing. However, I was too busy, so I asked a male employee to answer it. The employee holding the landline receiver seemed puzzled as he responded, "You only want to talk to the owner. Well, it's quite busy right now." Was there some problem? I wondered. Thinking this, I stopped what I was doing and decided to take over the call. "Yes, this is White speaking, the owner. Are you calling to make a reservation?" I waited for the reply while greeting politely, and then an irritating voice came through. "So that's your voice. It is you, isn't it? You're White, right?" I grimaced upon hearing the voice of the man from the other end of the line, because that person was a boss from the workplace I had 15 years ago. His name is Smith. He was the one who had harassed me in various ways. Actually, our company has decided to hold a welcome party for the new employees in late May. April is too busy, but May should be manageable, right? I'd like to make a reservation at your restaurant. I didn't really want to talk to him, but I can't let personal feelings interfere with business. Reluctantly, while looking at the calendar, I agreed to take his reservation. "Understood. May I call you back later about the course and date? It's quite busy here at the moment." "What a hassle. You're probably just as slow and clumsy as ever, right? You were always such a useless employee who couldn't do the job without relying on others." "Well, can't be helped. Back at my previous job, Smith often talked to me like this. I was not very skilled and often relied on other employees, which might be why. But it wasn't as bad as he made it seem. I always completed my assigned tasks and never missed a deadline. The negative feelings I had towards him from 15 years ago began to resurface. However, oblivious to how I felt, he said what he wanted and hung up the phone without waiting for a reply. "Fine, I'll call you back around 10 a.m. That should work, right? Bye." That time is outside of business hours, and we don't take reservation calls then. His tendency to impose his own convenience without considering others seems unchanged. A few hours later, after finishing my work at the restaurant, I started cleaning the empty dining area. Then Brown walked in through the entrance. "Hope I'm not bothering you. I've heard good things about your restaurant. It seems like work is going well. Glad to see you're doing things right." It had been a while since I last saw her, but she didn't seem to have aged at all. Perhaps working at the restaurant keeps her looking younger than her actual age. Seeing my face, Brown looked concerned. "You look tired. Why don't you try to cheer up a bit?" It seems my face was giving away my feelings. I honestly told her about what happened today. "I'm sorry, I just remembered some unpleasant things from the past." Just as I finished cleaning up, I offered Brown some water, and we settled down at the counter seats. After quietly listening to me for about 30 minutes, Brown's face turned to one of astonishment. It happens sometimes in this line of work, doesn't it? Those incredibly troublesome customers show up. And the one troubling you is your former boss. Sounds like a complicated relationship. Yes, well, we've had our issues. I've been harassed and insulted more than words can describe, but I chose not to speak about it. Smith was a terrible person who lashed out at colleagues who took leave for their children, and harassed those who shared stories about their loving spouses over lunch. I didn't want to dwell on such unpleasant memories more than necessary. However, Brown seemed to sense something was off by observing my behavior. She comforted me by placing her hand on my shoulder. "Cheer up. If you ever have any trouble, I'll be there to help. Don't forget, you have allies." Brown, thank you. Her words lifted my spirits. Dealing with Smith is troublesome, but I resolved to keep going for the sake of the restaurant and its staff. By the way, our local soccer club mentioned they need more practice partners. Interested in joining? It might be a good change of pace. No, thank you. I appreciate the thought, though. After wrapping up our casual conversation, I watched Brown leave the restaurant. Just then, the phone rang. It was almost 10 o'clock. The time Smith had mentioned, but it turned out to be someone else. When I checked the caller ID on the landline's display, it was a different person. I pictured the face of someone I knew. "Hello, it's rare for you to call. Is something up?" Then the person on the phone laughed. Actually, I'll be working near your shop around May, and I thought I'd stop by afterwards." I didn't want to just drop in unannounced, so I called. The caller's name was Williams. He was close with my parents, which is why we occasionally meet. They became friends through business dealings. My parents retired a few years ago, but they have kept up their friendship with Williams. I remember him visiting our home when I was a child, laughing and drinking with my father. Williams apparently wanted to be a preschool or kindergarten teacher back in the day. That's why he often looked after me when I was little. So I think of him almost like a second father. "Williams, you're more than welcome. We'll take extra good care of you." Thanks, but don't go out of your way for me. Other customers come first. If it's too busy, we can always find another time. Williams never imposes his needs on others and always considers their circumstances. Unlike Smith, he's a genuinely good person. After chatting for a few minutes, I hung up the phone. The next day, during a busy time at work, Smith called again, which was frustrating. It was good he didn't call during business hours the day before, but the timing was still inconvenient. "I'm sorry, but I can attend to your request at length right now." "Who do you think I am? I'm a customer." I felt bad for not being able to accommodate him, especially since I had explained the situation the day before. Yet, he continued to impose his own needs, not listening to anyone else. When a customer says they have something important, it's your job to handle it. Don't be so entitled. Our customers aren't just you. I can't inconvenience others for one person's demands. I was clear, but he ignored my words and quickly ended the call after stating his needs. "Book for 50 people. I'll leave the course up to you. Pick any date." I've dealt with many customers before, but never someone so selfish. His attitude was giving me a headache. As I reluctantly took notes on the reservation, a female employee nearby started talking to me. "Is that the customer you mentioned yesterday, no matter how politely you serve them? Some people are just looking for something to complain about. Maybe it's better to refuse." She seemed worried about me. Probably because I've occasionally talked about my former boss with the staff. She looked at me anxiously, trying to gauge my reaction. However, I responded with a smile to avoid worrying her further. "It's okay. I have to work hard to make ends meet. And no matter the personality, they're a customer. So as part of the restaurant staff, we have to handle it properly." In fact, recently several windows at the restaurant were shattered by a sudden gust of wind. The unexpected expense cost a significant amount of money, and I didn't want to miss the opportunity to make up for it with a reservation for 50 people. So I continued to deal with Smith, keeping my feelings in check. I don't know how many times I've been run around by his whims, but it seems my efforts have paid off. Somehow we managed to make it to the day of the reservation without issue. On this day, the wind was particularly strong. Cherry blossom petals, blown from somewhere, flutter around. The thin pink petals sticking to the window glass perfectly match the color of the spring sky. As I watched this seasonal scene, I was preparing for the reservation. I set the tableware for 50 people and checked the order of dishes to be served next. The employees were well coordinated, which meant we could likely avoid any issues. However, when the reservation time arrived, Smith and his party had not shown up. Could it be? Do you think they just blew off the reservation? It's not certain yet, right? Keep it down. The manager is probably the most anxious about this. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, it's tough having to entertain an unpleasant former boss for our sake and the restaurant's. The employees were whispering to ensure I wouldn't hear, but it was obvious. With a wry smile, I said, "I'll go check outside," and stepped away. They really are good people. I've always been fortunate to be surrounded by such individuals, even when I worked at Brown's Place. I know I'm not the most adept person. I'm aware that I can't handle things well without putting in effort. But the reason I've managed to get by so far is thanks to the people around me. I must never forget to appreciate them. As I was reaffirming my resolve with these warm thoughts in mind, Smith arrived. He approached me with a smug smile on his face. "Sorry I'm late. Had a few things to take care of." Not wanting to hear any more from him, I turned my back and quickly entered the restaurant. "All right then, let me show you this way." However, Smith interrupted me mid-sentence. "I actually canceled the reservation. Found a better place, and we've decided to go there. We've already paid for a reservation there in a few days." "What did you say?" "Cancel for 50 people, please." I inadvertently responded in my usual tone, forgetting my professional demeanor. Smith, unable to contain his laughter, placed his hand on my shoulder as he turned back to me. I wanted to see that look on your face. Serves you right." I was seething inside, but I took a deep breath to stay calm. Reacting impulsively would only play into his hands. So I brushed off his hand and asked for clarification. "So, are you saying the reservation is canceled?" "Customers are required to pay a cancellation fee. This is necessary to prevent people from deliberately canceling last minute, causing financial harm to the restaurant." This policy was clearly explained to Smith when he made the reservation. "For a group of 50, the fee will be quite substantial. Are you sure about this?" If he had joked about the cancellation and then brought the other guests, it would have been somewhat better. Dealing with Smith is a pain. I didn't want to waste the hard work of the employees who had prepared so earnestly. However, Smith dismissively said, "Of course, it's a cancellation. The food made by someone incompetent like you is bound to be terrible. I never intended to eat here from the start." Hearing his insults, I clenched my fists tightly. If possible, I would have liked to direct a punch at this man right in front of me. But doing so would only cause trouble for the restaurant and my staff. I merely glared at him. "Don't look so scary." Don't blame me, it's all because of your own incompetence. If you were a bit more capable, this wouldn't have happened. Smith snorted and turned to leave the restaurant. I found myself having to stop him from leaving. Wait, you will be paying the cancellation fee, right? Oh, why would I pay? You should pay me. When you are my subordinate, you cause me so much discomfort. Consider it a nuisance fee. He started walking away again, clearly unwilling to pay anything. I had reached my limit. I felt compelled to retaliate in some way. So, to temporarily keep Smith from leaving, I decided to offer a deceptive line. Is that so? Well, it would be a shame to waste the food we've prepared. Why don't you eat it for free? The effect of my words seemed dramatic. I suppose that's not bad. I might as well state. His mood instantly improved, and he began humming a tune as he entered the restaurant. Under my breath, I muttered toward his retreating back, "Don't think it'll stay this way." Fortunately, he didn't hear me. Unaware of anything, Smith continued into the restaurant. He surveyed the seats where the dishes were still set up and decided to sit down at one of them. I led Smith to a room at the back. This room is reserved for treating our most valued customers and those who order expensive courses. Upon seeing the room, Smith couldn't help but express his admiration. Not bad for your place. It looks quite nice. Seems like the food might be decent too. As he opened the door to the room with a cheerful look, I dropped the bombshell. The president and chairman of your company are waiting. What? I couldn't let him have his way any longer. It was necessary for Smith to face some consequences now. Inside the room were two men. They were the chairman and the president of the company Smith works for. One of them was President Williams. Chairman and the president, why are you here? Smith exclaimed in surprise, glancing back and forth between the two. Noticing him, the two directed their gaze toward Williams. Well, if it isn't Smith, what brings you here? It seems that Williams knew Smith. Williams's expression brightened a bit. Did you come to eat at this restaurant too? I understand the feeling. The food here is delicious. No, I was. Smith hesitated, unable to say that he had made a reservation for 50 people only to cancel it intentionally. He avoided eye contact and fumbled for words. Seeing him like this, Williams turned to me with a questioning look. It seemed he had somewhat caught on to my thoughts. White, why did you bring Mr. Smith here? Is there something you need to discuss with me as his former boss and current president? Williams' face grew serious as he looked at me. Then, sensing the atmosphere of the room, the chairman spoke up. President, shall I handle the rest of our schedule? Fortunately, it's nothing too urgent, and I can manage it alone. Yes, that would be great. Thank you. Could you take care of it? Yes, of course. The chairman quickly bowed to us and then left the room. It seemed the two had already finished their meal, as all the dishes on the table were empty. The chairman, who carried the weight of the company, had left the room, yet the heaviness in the air remained unchanged. In fact, it felt even more oppressive with only Williams there. He had shed his usual calm demeanor, now exuding a stern aura. Standing there must be hard. Come and sit down in this room. Understood. Williams asked me to enter the room, though Smith seemed reluctant. However, after being told to sit down once again by Williams, He reluctantly entered. Once we were seated, Williams began to speak. "Let's start by hearing from you, White. Could you please?" "What? Why?" Smith seemed shocked that he wasn't being prioritized. Ignoring his shock, I began to speak. "In fact, since April, several things have happened." I proceeded to explain in detail the events that had occurred between Smith and me. Of course, that alone wouldn't make the story clear, so I also supplemented it with details from when I worked under him. Smith tried to interrupt several times, but Williams admonished him each time, keeping him quiet. After I finished telling everything, Williams sighed deeply. "I had no idea Smith was behaving like that. Smith, first of all, let me remind you, White is no longer your subordinate or anything of the sort. It's not good to treat him with the same attitude from the past." In a stricter tone than usual, Smith tried to justify himself. "No, but it's his fault. He always irritated me and was so slow that he couldn't do the work. I was just looking out for him as a former boss. Even if that was your goodwill, there are limits. You can't do whatever you want. And how do you explain the reservation matter?" At that, Smith hung his head and closed his mouth, unable to respond. "Smith, I thought of you like my own son. Our families live close by, and I often looked after you, but it seems I spoiled you too much." Williams's words, full of genuine disappointment, made Smith suddenly look up and apologize. "I'm sorry, I am reflecting on it. It won't happen again." It appeared that Williams was a significant figure to Smith. "I'm sorry, I was foolish. Please don't abandon me." His desperate apology was like that of a child fearing abandonment by their parents. A stark contrast to someone who never admits their faults. Smith, now kneeling even lower, began to plead. "I will definitely return the money to this restaurant. I can't pay immediately because of the amount, but I will absolutely pay it back." While I watched his bewildered figure, Williams explained to me, "Smith's parents were somewhat indifferent towards him as a child, so I often took care of him. That might be why I am like a parent to him." I had imagined Smith as someone who grew up pampered and without hardships, so it was surprising to learn of his past. He must have spent lonely times as a child. "I will think about what I've done. Please forgive me." However, Williams's response to Smith's words was cool. "Aren't you apologizing to the wrong person? The one who suffered inconvenience from this incident isn't me." "But White, right?" Realizing this, Smith finally turned to me and apologized. "I'm really sorry. Please forgive me." His apology seemed like self-preservation, yet I felt a slight pity for him. I sighed and decided to accept his apology. Afterward, it seems Smith underwent an evaluation of his work attitude at his job. Williams also conducted a personal inquiry with him. I heard that due to his overly intimidating behavior towards subordinates, Smith was fired. Williams informed me of these facts after everything had settled. Thinking about how Smith was just like this when you worked under him at the company, I feel sorry. Williams apologized, but I held no grievances against him. To me, Williams has always been like the grandfather who played with me since I was little. And as a president, he had many responsibilities, so I couldn't blame him. However, it seemed Smith hadn't reflected at all. It's his fault. My misfortune is because he set me up. He apparently complained. While his background might be pitiable, his entrenched character might never change. He didn't pay a penny of the cancellation fee for the food for 50 people. Instead, Williams covered it for him. I'm truly very sorry. I wanted him to pay, but he insisted he couldn't afford it, and there was nothing I could do. I must be stricter with him from now on. Though I wasn't the one inconvenienced, and I felt terrible about the large amount for 50 people. As a business, we had to move forward, so I accepted the cancellation fee from Williams. If the conversation had ended there, I would have eventually forgotten about Smith. Instead of reflecting, Smith escalated his harassment. Months after his dismissal, he started coming to my restaurant every morning to scatter trash. Not only that, but it seems he was also throwing slanderous flyers into the mailboxes of nearby homes. When I saw a flyer with the rough text, "White's food is terrible," I involuntarily crumpled it in anger, realizing I couldn't ignore it anymore. I consulted the police, and perhaps calming down from that, he stopped the harassment, giving me temporary relief. However, there's no guarantee he won't harass again. So, I decided to confront him at his home. I need to be firmer, or Smith won't understand. I resolved, showing no weakness, as I headed to his place, only to be surprised to find Williams there. Fortunately, that turned out to be a good thing. After about an hour, with Williams's help, we scolded Smith thoroughly, which seemed to make him genuinely regretful. "I'm sorry, I am reflecting. Please forgive me," he apologized profusely, bowing deeply. But this was the second time. Not being able to say there won't be a third, I decided to create something akin to a work contract to ensure he keeps his promises. Although it was a fake contract, I decided it was better than doing nothing. The contract stated that if Smith caused any more trouble, Williams would sever ties with him. Perhaps realizing the severity, Smith, pale and sweating, repeatedly promised to keep his word. After that exchange, I unexpectedly found myself reminiscing about the times when I worked as a regular employee. Smith, who used to eat convenience store lunches at his desk, would enviously watch colleagues eating lovingly prepared homemade lunches. Thinking back, maybe that was his way of expressing a longing for a normal family life. He also used to glare at colleagues who took days off for their children's sports days or school visits. He probably never experienced such small kindnesses from his parents. Realizing this, I wanted to understand his true feelings and asked him, "When I was your subordinate, you often harassed me. Why did you dislike me so much?" I didn't expect an answer, but surprisingly, he spoke candidly. "It was because I envied you." Those words were unexpected. "You often told colleagues that you felt lonely because your parents were always busy. I felt a kind of kinship with you because I was somewhat the same, but you had many friends, and that made me jealous." I had never imagined he harbored such thoughts towards me. I had thought he simply disliked me unreasonably, but I was surprised to learn there was such a reason behind it. I closed my eyes and pondered the future. Williams is busy, so even though he thinks of Smith as a son, he can always look out for him. If Smith were to cause trouble again, it would deeply hurt Williams. Therefore, I made a certain proposal. "Smith, if you are willing, how about you work at my restaurant?" "What?" Naturally, he was taken aback. He stared at me, puzzled. Why would you say that? Is this some new form of harassment? One reason is purely that I've become interested in understanding more about you, I replied. There's also a feeling that I can't just leave things be, and a significant part of it is for William's sake. Above all, I felt pity for the man in front of me. I never really knew you at all. If I had understood your true feelings earlier, perhaps there could have been a different path. Maybe even as a child, because of William's connection, we could have been friends. Thinking about it, there's a lot on my mind. With that, I continued to speak to him, still looking perplexed. Who wants a life where you can't make amends? I've had my own share of past troubles. I explained, recalling how I injured my leg in an accident. As a child, I loved playing soccer and dreamed of becoming a professional player. But that dream ended abruptly due to a car accident. However, I found a new passion in cooking and am now fulfilling a second dream. You had such experiences in your life. So why not give it another try? Smith, with tears streaming down his face, grasped the hand I offered. Subsequently, Smith began working at my restaurant. Starting as an apprentice, he mostly handled menial tasks and hard labor, but perhaps the role of a chef suited him. Working quietly in the background, he seemed to feel none of the irritation he carried during his office days. I must have really misunderstood you. Getting to know you like this, I see you're genuinely a good person. It's only natural since you gave someone like me a chance to start over, he reflected. Now, as a junior employee, he eagerly takes on chores and preps ingredients, showing sides of himself never seen during his time as a manager. He might be shining brighter now than at any other time in his life. It was good that the employees, who initially resisted, gradually started to accept him. There are many challenges, but I believe he can now manage. Of course, as the owner, I have many responsibilities too. Thanks to our serious work, the number of customers has been increasing daily, making every day very busy. However, there is no doubt that these are fulfilling days. Looks like your place is thriving when I come after a while. You seem busy, so I'll visit another time. I'm sorry I couldn't attend to you properly. That's fine, Smith, right? You must look after the new guy. For now, just focus on your restaurant. Brown and Williams also occasionally show up, and I am fortunate that the customers are all wonderful people. Smith has always been under your care. I really appreciate it. I brought some gifts today as thanks, so please share them with your staff. Also, a young lady customer brought a thank you letter earlier. I said I would pass it on for you. Is that so? Thank you. I'll have to thank that girl next time. Once, I had to give up my dreams due to an injury. Life does give second chances. Manager, we've got a reservation call. It's for a large group this time. What should we do? Since they've taken the trouble to call us, I want to accommodate them as much as possible. We'll need to figure out how to secure enough seats. For my newfound second dream, I intend to keep striving.